미국 정부가 인간이 아닌 존재의 유해를 보관하고 있다는 전직 정보장교의 증언이 이른바 UFO 청문회에서 나왔습니다.
미국 정부가 미확인 비행물체 UFO를 회수해 분해하고 이를 모방해 역설계하는 프로그램을 진행하고도 수십 년 동안 숨겨왔다는 내부 고발이 나왔습니다.
미국 하원
For any one of you, based off of each of your experiences and observations, do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
What steps should be taken to better understand and respond to UAP encounters in the interest of national security?
There needs to be a location where this information is centralized for processing, and there needs to be a two-way communication loop so the operators on the front end have a feedback and can get best practices on how to process information, what to do, and to ensure that their reporting is being listened to. Right now, there is not a lot of back and forth.
Mr.
In another instance, we're told about the capabilities of a jamming during viewing of when there were some people chasing some of these objects. Did you experience any of that jamming or interrupting your radar or weapons system?
My crew that launched after we landed experienced significant jamming to the APG-73 radar, which was what we had on board, which is a mechanically scanned, very high-end system prior to the APG-79. And yes, it did pretty much everything you could do, range, velocity, aspect, and then it spit the lock, and the targeting pod is passive. That's what we were able to get the video on.
I'm about to run out of time. But
my next question would actually be for Mr. Graves. Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Certainly. In the 2003 timeframe, a large group of Boeing contractors were operating near one of the launch facilities at Vandenberg Air Force Base when they observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains. There was a similar event within 24 hours later in the evening. This was a morning event, I believe 8:45 in the morning. Later in the evening, post-sunset, there were reports of other sightings on base, including some aggressive behaviors. These objects were approaching some of the security guards at rapid speeds before darting off. And this is information that was received through one of the witnesses that have approached me at Americans for Safe Aerospace.
Was this done?
What about G-forces? Let's talk about G-forces of those vehicles. Could a human survive those G-forces with known technology today?
No.
No, not for the acceleration rates that we observed.
Okay. What about
one of my constituents actually sent this next question, and I figured I'd ask it since I had the same thought. You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies or alien species. Have you seen the spacecraft?
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment, but I could answer that question behind closed doors. Yeah.
And have you seen any of the bodies?
That's something I've not witnessed myself.
Okay, and so with that being said, the other statement that has been made that was intriguing to me it's intriguing because my view has been that we are billions of light years away from any other system. And the concept that an alien species that's technologically advanced enough to travel billions of light years gets here and somehow is incompetent enough to not survive Earth or crashes is something that I find a little bit far-fetched. And with that being said, you have mentioned that there's interdimensional potential. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, to answer your first question, and I'm here as a fact witness and expert, but I will give you a theoretical framework, at least to work off, to kind of espouse crashes, regardless of your level of sentience, right? Planes crash, cars crash, n number of sorties, however high, a small percentage are going to end in mission failure, if you will, as we say in the Air Force. And then in terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing. The framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
But you have not seen any documentation that that's what's occurring?
Only a theoretical framework discussion, yes.
Okay.
And collection systems on that craft.
Well, I think this goes to that national security side, and you can go back through history of things showing up at certain areas and disabling our capabilities, which is disheartening. And for us, I mean, like I said, it completely disabled the radar on the aircraft when it tried to do it, and the only way we could see it is passively, which is how he got that image. So I think that's a concern on what are these doing, not only how do they operate, but their capabilities inside to do things like this.
A few questions for Mr. Favor. As an expert naval aviator, have you ever seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP?
No.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
Many dismiss UAP reports as classified weapons testing by our own government, but in your experience as a pilot, does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing our pilots?
No, we have test ranges for that.
올 것이 왔습니다. 이번 미국 국회에서 열린 UFO 청문회의 주요 내용을 정리해보면 첫째, 외계 우주선 확보 및 역설계 둘째, 외계 사체 확보 셋째, 해당 사건을 국가적 위협으로 인식 넷째, 공개적인 논의의 필요성 이상의 4가지입니다. 이외에도 사기업이 이와 같은 프로젝트에 연루되어 있다는 논의도 있었습니다. 대부분의 뉴스에서 우주선, 외계인 시체, 민간 기업 연루까지는 제법 이야기합니다만 정작 중요한 이야기는 하지 않고 있습니다. 이 청문회가 열린 진짜 이유에 대해서 말이죠. 이 UFO 관련 청문회를 열고 이를 공개 토론을 한 이유 자체가 미국 정부가 공식적으로 UFO를 국가 안보 위협으로 인식했기 때문입니다. 그에 따라 이에 대한 논의 체계를 마련해야만 한다는 목소리를 키우기 위해서 이러한 자리를 마련했습니다. 지금부터 하나씩 주요 내용의 행간을 읽고 해당 청문회의 진정한 목적이 무엇일지 간단하게 분석해 보도록 하겠습니다. 그리고 UFO는 가급적으로 타락천사로 부르겠습니다. 첫째로 외계 우주선 확보와 역설계 부분입니다. 저는 여기서 블루빔 프로젝트가 단순 홀로그램이 아닐 수 있다는 것을 이들이 암시했다고 봅니다. 또한 타락천사들이 실체를 입고 이 세상에 등장할 수 있음을 알려왔다고 생각됩니다. 잭 파슨스의 바빌론 또는 바발론 위식 이후로 그 옛날 감시자들과 인간이 타락천사의 기술과 인간의 딸을 거래를 했다고 전하는 에녹서의 내용과 같이 오늘날에도 모종의 비밀 기술 거래가 이루어졌을지도 모르겠습니다. 스키너커 목장에서든 그레이엄 산에서든 포탈을 열었든 뭐든 한 가지는 분명해 보입니다. 앞으로 우리가 보게 될 UFO 비행체는 물리적 실체를 갖고 등장할 겁니다. 가짜 휴거를 연출하는 블루빔 프로젝트를 포함해서 말이죠. 따라서 블루빔 프로젝트가 실체 없는 홀로그램이라고만 생각하고 계시면 안 됩니다. 타락천사들이 직접 연기자, 배우가 되어 무덤이 열리는 부활 및 승천과 지상강림까지 거짓으로 재현하고 죽은 가족의 모습으로 되살아나 집집마다 현관문을 두들길지도 모를 일입니다. 두 번째는 외계인의 사체를 확보했다는 부분입니다. 제 채널의 적그리스도 정체편을 보신 분들은 즉각적으로 눈치를 채셨겠지만 이는 무적행의 천사, 파괴자 아볼루온의 아들인 적그리스도의 등장을 위한 포석입니다. 적그리스도는 반인 반천사의 하이브리드이죠. 세상에서는 타락천사들을 외계인으로 인식하게 됩니다. 따라서 미리 준비하는 밑작업이라 볼 수 있습니다. 하이브리드 종족이 갑자기 나타나면 심각한 혼란이 야기될 테니까요. 실제로 무신론자들이 이에 대해서 어떤 관점을 지니게 될지 다음 영상을 보시면 이해하실 수 있습니다.
But beyond that, if you have a species that's come from elsewhere, this is just me theorizing here, so if you can allow me to do this,
of course,
they get here, they realize we can't really live on planet Earth. Microbes are not healthy. The solar radiation is not right for us. The gravity is not right for us. All of these things are not right for us. So what would they do? Well, they would want to modify themselves to some extent so that they could have their people, as it were, being able to operate here. So would you modify your biology so that you have, what species do live here? Well, reptiles live here, insects live here, humans live here. So would you want to take genetic material from native Earth species,
Very intriguing point.
and you create those types of creatures? It's just a theory. Don't
It's
know
a
if it's
very
true.
good theory. That's a very intriguing point.
타락천사들은 다 계획이 있습니다. 멸망, 파괴의 아들 적그리스도와 자신의 후손들로 지구의 지배권을 찰탈하는 사전 작업인데 이와 같은 내러티브는 미리미리 완성시켜야겠지요. 외계인의 사체를 확보했다는 것은 바로 타락천사의 하이브리드를 위한 밑작업으로 이해할 수 있겠습니다. 실제로 어쩌면 인류는 지난 몇 년간 주입된 DNA 변형 주사로 인해서 이미 유전형질이 변형된 아기들이 태어나 자라고 있을지도 모르는데 이 유전자 변형의 1세대가 성인이 되는 시기는 대략 2040에서 2050년경입니다. 최소한 그 이전까지 소위 외계인과 유전자 변형, 내러티브를 완성시키리라고 봅니다. 세 번째는 UFO 사태를 국가적 위협으로 인식하는 것이고, 네 번째는 이에 대한 논의를 본격화할 필요가 있으며 대응 부서를 만들어야 한다는 것입니다. 이 세 번째와 네 번째는 연결해서 보아야 하는 부분입니다. 이와 같은 사태는 이미 많은 사람들에 의해서 예측되고 경고되어 온 부분입니다.
Unified in a world government for a cosmic threat. General MacArthur said that. Reagan said it 3 times in public speeches. Many people miss that. That one thing will unite this world will be a threat from the outside.
우주적인 위협이 나타나면 인류는 뭘 할까요? 온 인류가 함께 힘을 합쳐 대항해야 한다. 정보를 초월해서 초국가적인 UFO 대책부서가 필요하다. 모든 미디어와 각국 정부에서 이런 목소리를 내기 시작할 겁니다. 한국도 예외는 아닙니다. 이번 청문회가 중요한 것도 바로 이 위협 때문입니다. 이미 청문회 안에서 이러한 위협에 대해 어떠한 대책이 필요하냐는 부분에 있어 어떤 중앙정부, 태스크포스가 필요하다는 말을 꺼내왔습니다. 머지않은 시기에 인류 모두에게 중대한 위협이 있을 겁니다. 청문회에 등장한 반덴버그 공군기지는 핵미사일 발사 실험을 했던 기지입니다. 현재는 우주 왕복선과 일론 머스크의 스페이스 X 회사가 주요 발사장으로 활용하는 장소입니다. 저는 적그리스도는 외계인의 내러티브와 함께 오리라 봅니다. 그는 결론적으로 외계인을 우리의 친구로, 우리의 편으로 생각하게 만들 겁니다. 그는 무적행의 천사의 아들이니까요. 하지만 현재 일어나는 일은 그와 상반되게 외계인, 타락천사를 나쁜 존재로 인식하고 있습니다. 어떻게 된 걸까요? 굿캅, 배드캅 전략입니다. 착한 외계인이 있고 나쁜 외계인이 있는 겁니다. 나쁜 외계인을 먼저 등장시키고 착한 외계인이 이들을 쳐부수며 우리의 편으로 등장하는 것이죠. 그리고 나쁜 외계인이 등장해 있는 동안 인류는 어느새 단일 정보로 통합되어 있는 겁니다. 그렇게 통합된 체제를 적그리스도에게 넘기기만 하면 되죠. 이미 트랜스포머 같은 영화를 통해서 우린 이런 구도에 익숙합니다. 또한 해겔의 변증법, 정반합, 미국의 힐러리, 트럼프, 바이든 등 우린 이러한 여론몰이에 익숙하죠. 그때마다 누군가 해결사처럼 등장하고 언론이 그를 밀어주는데 그게 늘 그들의 의도된 바였습니다. 이번에도 마찬가지입니다. 다만 타락천사들이 인류의 구원자로 등장하게 될 시나리오로 예상되는 것은 일반적인 스케일과는 차원이 다른 겁니다. LA 마르줄리의 이번 UFO 청문회 관련 코멘터리 영상을 통해서 타락천사들이 어떻게 최종적으로 우리를 속이려 들지 그 마지막 시나리오에 대해 스스로 생각해 보시면 좋겠습니다.
Because the dragon, the devil, has been cast down to earth and he knows his time is short. How does he know that? How does he know his time is short? Is it possible that the reason that these UFOs are so obsessed with nuclear sites, and you remember in our Watchers series, we sat down with Robert Salas. We broke the story in our Watchers series. You can check that out by going to streaming.lamarzulli.net or go to the website lamarzulli.net. It's on Best of Watchers. A UFO appeared over the base. Salas is 60 feet underground in the command center. The UFO, without touching anything, turns off all 9 intercontinental ballistic missiles, their nukes. Turns them off like that. Is it possible? Is it possible? This is conjecture. There's a grid system that completely envelops our planet. The satellites that are up there, the grid, the internet. Everything is now connected. You go back 100 years, nothing was like this. I think we can agree on that. Now we're all connected. When the Fukushima reactor, when the tidal wave came in and wiped the Fukushima reactor, we all saw that in real time. During COVID, they lit up the grid again. Everybody on the globe was watching this whole thing progress because we're all linked up. Everything is linked up. The grid right now is benevolent, but it can be used to filter all information. And in some respects, it already has done that. You get a nuclear event on this planet, anywhere, and right now my top candidate is Ukraine and Russia because they're already saber-rattling using tactical nukes. You get a nuke that goes off anywhere, it's going to create the greatest collective fear that humankind has ever experienced. Think about it. And you know how that will work? Because the grid will be lit up. That's all we'll see. No matter where you go on the internet, no matter where you go in any news cycle, boom, that's all people are going to see. This will create the greatest climate of fear that humankind has ever experienced. Collectively, that's when they show up, in my opinion. That's when they show up. That's their cue. When they come, and remember, the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching in a state of collective fear. Fear. The calling card of the dragon is one of fear. And when they show up, they will say, we created all life on this planet. We started the world's religions. We started the world's civilizations. Now at this critical juncture in human history, we are back to usher mankind into a golden age and make sure that we don't destroy ourselves. I'm running with this now because I want to get the word out. And I think I've connected some dots here which other researchers have not connected. They are obsessed, the so-called extraterrestrials, these interdimensional beings, i.e. the fallen ones, are obsessed with nuke sites. Could it be that when a nuke goes off, that's their trigger? That's what they have been waiting for. You heard it here